Skylanders for me is probably my favourite gaming franchise of all time, and I feel like there isn't really enough long form Skylanders lore content out there, so I thought I'd make this video. And in this video, as you can probably tell by the title, and if not that, the intro, I'm going to be delving into individual lore of each one of the giants, from T-Rex to Ningini. The giants were actually first mentioned in SSA in a story scroll. They're referred to as the Elder Elementals. The scroll also said that they possessed powers of light and darkness within their flesh, which might refer to their light up feature, or it was just a really early tease to the light and dark element that were added in Chapter 2. Long ago, before the first giant had set foot on Skylands, there stood a tall, towering tree. It loomed above the other trees in the forest and shielded the creatures below with its mighty branches. When the Archeans built a factory at the edge of the forest, little did they know it would ultimately spell their doom. Magic leaked from the factory, poisoning the soil over hundreds of years. Slowly, bit by bit, that tallest tree began to mutate. Its branches became arms, its trunks became a body, and its roots formed into a particularly massive pair of legs. T-Rex was born, and he wasn't happy. He immediately stomped the factory flat, then set off to find out who had stuck it there in the first place so he could stomp them flat too. T-Rex believes there is a natural order to all things, and anyone who threatens that order had better prepare for a squishy. Thumbback was once a fearsome member of a pirate crew on board a very large ship. And it had to be large, what with him being a giant whale. They sailed the seas, shivering their timbers, saying "Arg!" and mucking about with treasure. But Thumbback wasn't happy. The pirate stuff was all well and good, but the big whale monster's real passion was fishing. When the opportunity arose to snag the biggest catch of his life, the legendary Leviathan cloud crab, Thumbback couldn't pass it up. Things didn't quite go according to plan, however, and Thumbback was carried off by the cloud crab. He refused to let it go, and the rest of the pirate crew could only watch as he was dragged across the sky and over the distant horizon. The cloud crab eventually got away, and Thumbback never found his ship again. His days as a pirate were over, but when he joined the other giants to help to fend off the Archeans, his days as a Skylander had only just begun. As one of the 9,000 members of an insect royal family, all crammed together in a hive, it was difficult for Swarm to stand out. All that changed when, without an explanation, the young prince began to grow and grow and grow. Although it was forbidden for any member of the royal family to ever leave the hive, they were forced to make an exception for Swarm when his head started growing through the roof. Emerging into an unfamiliar world, Swarm struggled to find a place to fit in. He wandered for months and discovered that stinging insects, particularly enormous talking monster stinging insects, are not very popular. He soon became homesick and longed for the days he was being trampled by several thousand of his closest relatives. However, when he was discovered by the other giants, he finally found a purpose, using his brute strength and stinger attacks to ruin the Archeans' picnic and restore peace to the Skylands. As a ninja with command over the magic element, Ningini was a real force to be reckoned with back before the Archeans came along. Her skills, power and snazzy hairstyle drove an evil sorceress mad with jealousy, and using dark magic the sorceress trapped Ningini inside an enchanted bottle. There she remained for years and years, but she didn't waste a single moment. Instead she spent her time getting more awesome by the day, developing her magic abilities and learning how to skillfully wield double swords. Eventually, she became too powerful to contain and managed to squeeze her way free of the enchanted bottle prison. She swore then to use her magic, ninja skill, and massive size to protect Skylands from those who would harm it. There's something about being on fire that can sometimes make people irritable. This giant hothead is no exception. A vast towering fire golem. The only thing short about Hothead is his temper. Usually angry and often reckless, Hothead once leapt into a pool of magical oil. The very first pool of magical oil ever to be discovered in Skylands. Hothead hoped it would help him cool down. It didn't. The boom was heard all across Skylands as it was the entire island Hothead was on exploded in a spectacular fireball. Although most of the magical oil was instantly vaporised, some of it fused with Hothead, granting him a limitless fuel supply and the ability to torch anything or anyone that might get in his way. Directing his burning anger towards the Archeans, Hothead was a valuable addition to the original Skylanders, while also helping cut down on their heating bills. It's not every day a headless giant declares war on a flying eyeball, but that's exactly how Eyeball came to exist. What started as an evenly matched staring contest between them escalated into a full-scale conflict that lasted over 100 years. Eventually, the unusual enemies became bored of fighting and declared the war a draw. That would have been the end of it had they not realised that combining their strength would make them almost unstoppable. The Eyeball popped himself into the space where the giant's head should have been, and Eyeball was born. As a result of combining their abilities, Eyeball instantly became one of the most powerful Skylanders who has ever existed. Now the giant Cyclops uses his big eye to seek out evil in all forms, and his bigger fists to mash it into tiny bits. The big stone golem Crusher is fascinated by rocks. Inspired by his father, who was a miner, Crusher would travel across Skylands in search of rare and interesting stones and minerals. Then, when he found a particularly fascinating specimen, he would take great delight in smashing it to smithereens. You see, Crusher, as his name suggests, loves to crush things. He especially likes to crush rocks, big rocks, small rocks, shiny rocks, pointy rocks. Basically, if it starts with R and ends with rocks, yeah, I'd better watch out when Crusher is around. Armed with his huge hammer, which he also calls Crusher, his imagination is exactly the strong point. This giant spent many happy years wandering around and smashing stuff to bits, until that is, he discovered that the Archean King was pinching all the rocks for his own evil ends. That day, Crusher discovered there was something even more fun to do than smashing rocks. Smashing Archeans. Back in the day, Bouncer was an all-star Robota ball player, amazing as Mabu fans with his speed, accuracy and lively personality. His trick shots were famed across all of Skylanders. His games were watched by thousands, then the Archeans had to go and spoil everything by destroying his hometown and outlawing Robota ball. His fans were enslaved and sent to work in the mines. Bounce was converted into a security robot and sent to the mines to make sure the Mabu didn't try any funny stuff. Down there in the dark, Bouncer met many Mabu who remembered his glory days on the field. Their sense of loyalty touched the hulking robot, and instead of doing the Archeans' dirty work, he decided to fight against them. Cheered on by his army of fans, Bouncer used his Robota ball skills to free the slaves, then joined with the other giants in the war against the Archean King.